like, wait, I can't do math because I'm a therapist, but what? All right, go on.
Yeah.
That's not why you can't do math. That's not why.
Not.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Therapy Talk. So today we have a very special someone, and I am so excited because I'm just going to sit back and watch mother and daughter do their thing. But today's episode, as you read the title, is about vulnerability and Valentine's Day, which is, as they call it, Singles Awareness Day. I don't know who thought that was a bright idea, but single people are aware daily that they are single. Just saying. Anyway, we're going to move on. So, who do we have? Kato, can we hear from you?
Yeah. As you've heard, my name is Caito. I am her daughter.
True story.
I've been like the favorite child for 22 years.
Wait,
it's been crazy.
You're 22?
I'm 22.
I thought you were 21.
No.
Bad mom moment, sorry.
I've been the favorite child for 22 years, minus this instant. I've been in the tattoo industry for 16 years. I've got a few pets. I like plants.
Wait a second. You've been in the tattoo industry for 16 years?
Since 2016.
Oh, you said did you say 16 years?
I have no idea. I hope I didn't. I lied.
I was like, wait, I can't do math because I'm a therapist, but what? All right, go on.
Yeah.
That's not why you can't do math. That's not why.
Not.
Don't do that.
I chose the career due to not having to do a lot of math.
Math-wise, it's been like 5.
Okay.
5 years.
All right, we're related.
Yeah. Apple.
Yep.
Straight down. What's up?
What's up?
But yeah.
Well, welcome to the show. Tammy, how are you feeling having Kato on here? You invited her.
I did, yes. I feel awesome about it. I'm really honored that she decided to come on with us goofy girls. So she was all about it. So we talked about the topic and she was all about it. So here we are. And if anybody ever wondered, now you know why I have so much tattoos. It's because of this girl right here. She is my artiste. Yes. Mm-hmm. And we're going to link her info and in the stuff below. We're going to link her stuff so you can find her, so you can get tattoos from this lady. She's really good. She's really good.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So Katie, what would you...
I definitely plan on coming up to or up, sideways, wherever you are in Iowa to get some work done.
Yeah.
I'll hold you to it.
Next episode with Katie is
wait.
tattooing.
We have to check in, Tammy. See, you almost moved on.
Wow.
We nearly forgot.
See? Well, the highlight is having you, Pauline, and my daughter together. I am like loving being in this little, whatever you call it, this thing.
This triangle.
This triangle of love.
Vulnerability.
Triangle of vulnerability.
Aww.
But it's been a good week. I got my second COVID shot, so that was not very much fun. But now I know I really don't want a COVID. But I'm feeling really good today. Yesterday and the day before, not so much. Feeling really good today. But yeah, how about you? What's been going on in your world?
Well, a lot's been going on in my world, and today actually, before we started recording, you encouraged me to get out of my bathrobe and put on a proper shirt to go to my mailbox for a package that you sent me. And so, yes, I huffed and puffed, but I am glad I made it to the mailbox because you got me awesome things. Putty, you must know I'm like stressed out or something, and slime, all of that and more. And there's more right here because Tammy's that cool. So thank you so much.
I love putty so much. All of my clients, they have a stack of putty by them, and I have my own special putty supply right next to me. Because I'm the only one that touches it, mine.
Oh, it's not gross. That's why it's special.
No, I'm not saying that, but because the germ thing, you know.
Yeah.
I do rotate them out, so it is COVID appropriate putty. Yes.
Like, does it rotate to the trash?
Well, no, I just let it sit for a while while I let the germs go away. You know, because that happens.
Okay.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Well,
definitely moving on. What do we have in store for the day?
Yes.
Wait, Katie, did you want to? What is the highlight of your week? We're being rude. We have a guest in the house. We didn't even offer her any water, nothing to eat, drink.
Oh, well, I just appreciate being here. Dang. Well, I mean, it's pretty early in the week, but I guess my highlight is being here. Thank you for having me. I'm honored. You wanna hear my opinion? I have them. Oh boy.
Well, we're glad that you have them because we've got questions for you. So get ready for that. Speaking of that, so our agenda today is we're going to talk about what you guys have already been told. We're going to talk about vulnerability. I can't say that word, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what it is, maybe what it isn't, and we're going to talk about the queen of vulnerability herself, Brene Brown. If you don't know her, look her up. She's got lots of books. She's got great YouTube videos out there. She's phenomenal. And then we're going to have a discussion because I'm with my daughter and my bestie, so I can't be in a better situation right now.
Ooh.
Yeah.
She says that now until we put her in the hot seat.
Ooh, that's true.
There's a hot seat.
Hot seat. So then, Tammy, since we're going to talk about vulnerability, what can you tell us about it before we really get right into it?
Sure. Well, I can say that as a therapist, I've learned a lot about vulnerability. But before my therapy world, I used to think this vulnerability is weak, as it could be perceived as weakness. That it's kind of like, you know, you're not, if you see yourself as not successful, you see yourself in a really bad light. So I feel like vulnerability, it makes you a target to get hurt. And I always thought that was a negative thing. So I'm here to tell you that is not the case. So that's what I used to think vulnerability as. Yeah. How about you guys?
You know, I like that you're saying used to.
Yeah.
Because that, to me, emphasizes how we can change, like our opinions about things, our thoughts and feelings about stuff can change.
Yeah.
Like the weather.
Definitely. I would agree with that.
Yeah. Kato, what are your thoughts about vulnerability before we get into our discussion?
She's going to be in a hot seat all the time.
Hot seat.
Oh.
That
Getting
sounded
toasty.
That's what we do to our guests.
sounded weird.
Well, I guess I always saw as vulnerability as pretty much the same way. Like it's in my old opinion, it was being weak. It was showing people that you are an easy target, and it's not a position that I wanted to put myself in.
Definitely.
I was never willing to be vulnerable.
Willing. Ooh. Okay. I like that.
How about you? How about you, queen?
How about me? See how I try to like move over, like go to the discussion because I'm avoiding being vulnerable.
Do you want to move on?
Yes. Vulnerability, like culturally, that's such an interesting thing. I can't even tell you if that word was thrown around growing up for me. There are certain feeling words that weren't used. And so me expressing like love or appreciation, well, appreciation definitely was used, but it's really odd. I'm learning to be vulnerable now because I'm learning about it, but crying was weak. Showing any type of emotion that wasn't like happy, joyous, anger even, was weak. So here we are, or here I am as a therapist.
Yeah.
Talk about vulnerability and being vulnerable, learning to be.
It makes you wonder, like, we've all got that message that vulnerability is equals weakness. I wonder really where that stemmed from. That's weird.
All right.
Yeah.
Can we do the discussion piece now?
Let's move on.
Let's move on. Okay, so the queen of vulnerability herself. So Brene Brown, she has a TED Talk, which is also available on Netflix. Everyone has Netflix at this point because, well, 2020. But TED Talk is on YouTube, just like our channel. Since I just mentioned it, go ahead and hit like because you already love this topic that we're into, and subscribe. Welcome, new subscribers. So the power of vulnerability, she talks about vulnerability as being as an uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. It's about willingness to show up and be seen even when there are no guarantees.
Definitely.
Can we talk about this?
Yeah. Katie, what do you think about that?
Oh man.
I did. I just asked you that.
You did. I completely agree with this. Like, fundamentally, it's a risk. It's an emotional risk, a physical risk, whatever you want to call it. But that's the beautiful thing about it is it's willing to be hurt or willing to be heard, and it's kind of exciting in a grand weird sense of things.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable can be exciting.
It can be. You're
Yeah.
right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let me talk about an analogy that Brene uses, which she says vulnerability is like armoring up. So putting on that suit of armor in the morning before you start your day. When you do this, you're basically protecting yourself from things or feelings such as being hurt or fear, blame, shame, being ridiculed, avoiding getting hurt, etc. We tell ourselves we're going to armor up. By doing this is basically our way of protecting ourselves because we don't want to get hurt. So by wearing our armor, we're essentially protecting ourselves from getting hurt. I totally just repeated myself, but hopefully y'all heard that. Just want to be clear.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about that?
And it's another extremely accurate statement. It's a lot like every day that you're unwilling to be vulnerable or honest with yourself. It's like taking a stone and building a wall around your heart. It doesn't do you any good. Every day you wait, it takes longer to take those walls down and kind of feel your own self. And it's important to let that armor go. Let those stones fall. You don't need to wear armor all the time. That's how you chafe. That's not good. You leave that armor on all the time, your heart's gonna get chafed. They don't make ointment for that.
Oh, your heart.
No Gold Bonds powder can
Not
fix
what
that.
I was
Gold Bond powder. It's just you, yourself, and you.
I love a good analogy. That's such a helpful tool in therapy. I love that.
Gold Bonds powder.
Gold Bond heart cream.
We are not sponsored, by the way, by Go Bond by any means. Cornstarch,
But I mean,
none of
Go
them
Bond.
are.
But if you want to hit us up, we'll take your money and
No
we
one
will.
wants chafing.
Yes. Anti-chafing will
Oh
occur.
my gosh.
If you have us promote your.
Remove your armor. No chafe.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on because I am here with Tammy and her daughter Caito, and I'm pretty sure Caito has a bit of tambling as well. So
Tambling.
She might have it.
Shocking.
So we're gonna move on.
Fun fact.
So Brene continues to say that our capacity for wholeheartedness can never be greater than our willingness to be brokenhearted. And Kato, you've actually used, I'm like keeping track, but you've used willingness on willingness maybe twice so far. And so I want to hear what your input is on this piece.
That's another really hard one. Because a lot of it is thinking about what wholeheartedness means to you yourself. And the only way I can express that is about wholehearted willingness to be brokenhearted is a lot like gambling. I mean, it's a risk. Like you can put yourself
Gambling
out
is a
there.
risk.
You can lose. You can win. You can be vulnerable, and you could be validated, or you could be dismissed. And one is obviously preferable than the other, but that's it. It's there's no guarantee you're gonna win. And if you do, cool. And if you lose, like, you can try again, or you can go home, and try again later. It works. It's what you make of it.
It is what you make of it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I like that you said it's a gamble.
What do you think
that
about?
That was a really good analogy.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry, I cut you off, Colleen.
I mean, that's no, that's okay. That's what life essentially is. I mean, we're gambling, and gambling isn't always bad. It's not always good, but I think the outcome is the fact that we come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And something that came up for me as Kato, you were talking, is like the whole armor thing. When we try to protect ourselves from these feelings of like fear or hurt or brokenheartedness, we're also blocking these feelings of, or what we would, positive emotions, such as feeling happiness, feeling joy, feeling love. So this armor that we put up, we don't really think about it as, okay, if I'm doing this, then I'm also like gonna block these other emotions. Our emotions function from the same pathway. So don't armor up all the time.
Absolutely. Don't armor up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna get that chafing.
You're gonna block out
Yes.
the good and the bad. Period. Yeah.
And you gotta have the good
Yes.
with the bad. Just like with anything else in life. In order to appreciate the good, you have to have the bad.
Yes. Tammy, what culturally for you, like what does vulnerability look like?
Culturally for me, that's a really good question. Iowa, grew up in Iowa, still in Iowa. I came from a really big family. I'm the youngest out of 8, and I think I came from a parents who had the thought that children should be seen and not heard. Pretty confident that was, I mean, it wasn't like an intentional thought, but it really, I mean, I was a very, very quiet child. And so the culture in my household, and probably in our general geographic location, is, children are to be seen and not heard. And so to voice your opinion, to voice your thoughts and feelings, it was not accepted, it was not encouraged, it was not supported. So that would be the culture that I would come from as far as that goes. It got better the older I got, and of course, we're learning more about vulnerability. I can't even say that we're learning about it all the time. But that's what I would say. And there's just like an onion in trauma. There's all these layers. So there's so many different layers of. Now I'm going to be doing analogies, Katie. It's all these layers that we can peel off. So vulnerability, I think every year, every day, we have different points of our life where we become vulnerable, and we just have to choose to do that. How about in your culture, Pauline?
For mine, so I identify with like the African culture and like the Black American culture. So like, and they blend in certain aspects. So like growing up in Africa, didn't really hear I love you and things like that. And if, let's say, I got hurt, like physically hurt, that's totally addressed. I'm able to say, ouch, I hurt myself. Can I, I need some assistance or help with that. But to be able to express my feelings emotionally, as far as like being hurt or being in like pain, emotionally, I never really learned that. And so that I'm still actually working on that and doing therapy, being in this part of like this platform, even being in front of this camera, recording, talking about myself right now. I feel vulnerable. I feel uncomfortable. And that feeling is not familiar for me. I know how to shut down pretty well. Tammy might know this. And so, yeah, that's culturally, we've learned not to express those parts of us, because then, yeah, we're going to be perceived as weak. And historically, we had to show, and when I'm saying historically, is Black History Month. We know we're learning more about what Black people in America have gone through. And we were, you cannot show those types of emotions, because that's not going to help you in the long run, in the long run. So that's what I got.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for sharing. So Katie, being a child of a therapist, what would you say? What's your thoughts on that?
Oh boy. I don't know if I really absorbed that part of my childhood. I definitely grew up with a lot of brothers, and that's what's more prominent in my memories is growing up as one of the boys. And
That's true.
one of the boys, you don't cry, you suck it up and you move on. And that's been my motto for basically 20 years. And I'm trying to unlearn that, and I'm trying to be okay with crying and being okay with being uncomfortable, like you said. And it's hard, and it's a learning process. Yeah. I definitely have benefits having a mom who is a therapist, but
probably some drawbacks too.
Yeah, I have a lot of brothers though, so I need a lot of therapy.
Lots of testosterone.
Hey, and that's okay.
You didn't have 5.
That is okay.
That's true. That's true. I have 6. Wait, yeah, I have 6 brothers.
You do have 6.
I have 6 brothers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tammy, so it sounds like counting is seriously not your thing. It's outside of...
It's really not. But,
this.
okay, so here's the thing. So, I have Katie, and then I have 2 boys.
It's a Brady Bunch situation.
It's like a Brady Bunch situation.
Yeah.
So, I have 3 birth children that came from my latte. And then I have 3 bonus sons who I love and adore. They are my boys just as much as my other boys. And then Katie has a stepbrother on her other side. Mm-hmm. So Katie does have 6. I was like, oh yeah. So I can't do math. You are correct. But there's a lot of bodies involved.
We love you. We love you. You don't need to count.
You are loved.
I don't need to count.
You are loved.
That's what I got my fingers for.
Yeah.
Just for counting. My
fingers
math teacher would
and
be so
toes
proud right now. Fingers and toes. That's why Pauline and I always count in 5s, right, Pauline?
5s.
5s.
Absolutely.
5s.
Absolutely. Well, let's carry on. I mean, we totally just went on a tangent, but that's all right. Vulnerability does that to a person.
Tambling, yeah.
Tambling, yes.
We're all doing it.
So what is vulnerability in relationships? And not removing intimate relationships, because those are 2 different things right now. So in relationships, Tammy,
Me? Okay.
what you got?
Well, I'm just going to use an example. So vulnerability is taking the first date after a divorce. It is taking responsibility for something that went wrong and admitting that I made my share of mistakes. I can't point the blame and say, this person did this person did this. I mean, it's going to take 2 to have some issues, but we're talking about I'm talking about intimate relationships in this aspect. But yeah, you need to be confident of regardless of situation. So being vulnerable, you have to be confident to be yourself. The good and the bad, the risks and all that. But yeah, that's what I would say. How about you, Katie?
Oh man. In relationships, I'd say it's a lot of learning to be honest and open with yourself. You have a relationship with yourself just as you do with anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And so being vulnerable in a relationship is sitting down, unpacking your baggage, and addressing it. And you can address it however you would like, as long as it is addressed. And yeah, that's it.
That's really good.
Address your baggage.
Address your baggage.
Address your baggage.
I talk about that in therapy a lot. You need to unpack your baggage.
Okay.
When people come in for couples counseling, I'm like, I need to see you separately because you each bring baggage into this relationship. I can't just go in and try to fix you guys as a couple. I need to see you separately so you can each unpack your stuff. And then we'll consider doing couples counseling if it's safe for you, both of you. Because I don't know that if you're both sitting in front of me. Yeah, I have to separate the two of you. You're grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grounded. There's no shaming in therapy.
No, I mean grounded is like, okay, when you separate, you know, when you ground children, you're like, okay, you need to go over there. You need to separate them.
I live in my own house. You can't ground me anymore.
I'm in mom mode, I guess.
Yes. Yes. Kato, that assertiveness, I'm telling you, like, your mom is definitely a therapist and she's taught you something.
Something. A thing or two.
Well, Kato, this one is for you. I want to know, like, now let's talk about vulnerability in, like, intimate relationships. Intimate.
Okay, so that's a lot of the same but different. In an intimate relationship, I see it. No, if you asked me like 2 years ago, I would have been like, don't worry about it. You don't need to be vulnerable. But now, today, you asking me this question, it is an absolute. It's like a fundamental for a solid foundation. If you want a relationship that lasts, you need to learn how to be vulnerable. And going back to step one with relationships, and it's unpacking the baggage. In an intimate relationship, it is so much more crucial to be on the same page as someone in a relationship like that. A fundamental.
Fundamental.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so proud. I'm just so proud right now. I'm about to pop out my fan. I don't know if I'm having a hot flash or if I'm just so proud of this girl right now. Do you want my fan?
It's because I'm amazing.
She likes the props too.
I am enjoying this. But in all seriousness, I definitely appreciate your input because vulnerability has to start with like the individual. Mm-hmm. I think one part and I've been single for a long time, probably holding the world record of the single woman, but I'm okay with it. But what you said is something that I didn't know back in the day, and which is I have to be vulnerable with myself. So what is that? What does that even look like, having this relationship with myself? Because what we don't know is in order for us to have a meaningful and a successful relationship, intimate relationship, we bring in baggage. Mm-hmm. What does that baggage look like? Because if it's disorganized and you don't know it, it's gonna show up in your relationship.
Oh yeah, and that's so important too. Is being able to not have to carry around all that baggage. Like when you're in a relationship with someone, it's not necessarily their emotional burden, but you don't have to hold on to it. They're there for that reason. Is you can let down those walls and take off that armor. That person is there to be vulnerable with you. And if they can't do that, you don't need them. You do not need them. Mm-hmm. If they can't be like blatantly honest with you, it's time to be honest with yourself and move on.
Honesty is a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, how often do we stay in relationships without like realizing, wait, we needed to have left about a week ago.
Or a few years ago or whatever.
Yes. Or 20 years ago.
Whatever.
We come to a certain point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so since we're like talking about vulnerability from like back in the day, I want to like know from y'all, like, when did you actually realize, or which moment did you realize you were becoming vulnerable or even more vulnerable?
Ooh, that's a rough one.
That's you.
Oh, okay. Well,
I got it.
I to be honest, I'm just now learning. Like, I just learned about vulnerability back in May 2020, and to this day I'm still working on it. And I think the moment I realized I was becoming more vulnerable was admitting that I needed help. And that was extremely hard to do. I'm not someone who rolls over very easily, but it got to the point where I was avoiding addressing a lot of my issues that have accumulated over the years. And it became so apparent to me that it was affecting me mentally and physically that I needed help. I could no longer manage this by myself, and I didn't realize then, but that was my first step to being vulnerable, was I need help. I can no longer do this by myself.
And that takes a lot of courage to do that.
Oh, it was hard.
Yeah.
It sucked. It sucks. But it's good. It's important.
So you're on the other side of that. So how does it feel now?
Well, after a lot of therapy, I no longer have any physical issues. I've learned how to manage myself a little bit more. It's still a growing process. It's still a learning process. And every day I try. And that's all you can do is just try. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tammy, what about you?
Yes, ma'am. How, on like the moment I realized, it's hard for me to be in the hot seat too. I think that it's a daily struggle. I think as a therapist, it's hard to be vulnerable. We ask our clients all the time to be vulnerable, and I'm all about it in certain aspects, but just like what you did to me, when you asked me that question, I immediately, my stomach like I don't like that. I like to be in control of what I'm being vulnerable about. I don't like being put on the spot. So for me, it's a daily process, and I'm trying to become more vulnerable with my clients, because they need to see that I'm struggling too. If I'm having a hard day, I'll tell them sometimes I'm having hey, you know what, I'm struggling today. I have a massive migraine, you know, whatever. They need to know that I'm a real person, and they do. But I'm evolving into that. I've not always been that way. I've had a lot of barriers up being a therapist, because I felt like I needed to be kind of this not a perfect being, but kind of, you know, I didn't want people to see me as weak. I didn't want people to come try to get help from me, but like, oh my gosh, why would I go to this therapist? She has a lot of issues. Well, heck yeah, I have a lot of issues, but I didn't want to show that. And I don't show that, but I do show that. You know, I want people to know that I am a real person. I do struggle. There's some days I go into work and I just had a really crappy night. I didn't sleep the night before, or I'm worried about my daughter, or I'm worried about my other kids, or my mom, or, you know, we have stuff going on. Life doesn't stop when you're a therapist. So vulnerability to me is like an everyday thing. What about you?
I would say maybe 3 years or so ago, I realized I am definitely becoming more vulnerable, because I'm able to cry in front of people, and it takes a lot for me to cry. But I feel, and so like a few years ago, just in this facility I was working at, we did a lot of group, and in groups, this is where you really show up in how vulnerable you can get, because everyone's watching you. You're in a circle. And even though I was the facilitator, I'm watching everyone, and I can feel what they're talking about. And so watching them was very inspirational for me, because it's like, how can I ask my clients to be vulnerable if I'm like not showing it? So there's a way for us therapists to be vulnerable and still be professionals. And something that you said that like did a little light bulb thing for me, Tammy, is in therapy school, we're not taught that we can also be vulnerable. We're taught to like, well, you got to show up for your clients, and you got to be this way, be that way. Perfect is what they're saying. We're not taught that. So it's very important to be in touch with these feelings, because that's how you can help your clients tap into it. And I'm saying this I'm talking to myself as I'm saying this. I needed to learn how to be vulnerable, and I'm still learning, because that makes me a better therapist, that makes me a better friend, and so on.
It's a work in progress. It always is. I think for all of us, it's always going to be a work in progress. We don't want to be stagnant, and if you're not growing, you're dying. So we always want to grow.
Yes. So welcome to the vulnerability world, new member, which is Kato.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yes.
She's like,
Let's see. Well, are y'all being vulnerable right now? And how can you tell?
I think we're all being vulnerable right now.
Totally.
Yeah.
Definitely. Which is good, because we're asking people to be vulnerable. Like, again, in therapy, we ask people to be vulnerable, and we have to be vulnerable ourselves. Katie's really putting herself out there, and I really appreciate that. I think we're all being vulnerable right now.
Yes. But Katie, you are 10 years younger than me, and at age 22, I did not have that type of awareness that you have now, or insight into myself. Asking for help was definitely an issue for me. I'm better at it now, and so I cannot imagine how awesome you're gonna get when you hit this 32, because girl or woman, you're about to rule the world with all of this knowledge and insight. You're an inspiration to me right now.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Can I say something on that?
Yes.
Because when I was a kid, when I was younger, I had zero confidence. I was super shy. I wanted to just disappear. I didn't want to stand out. Nothing. I was like, don't pay attention to me. I had no confidence at all. It was awful. When I knew I was going to have a girl, well, my boys too, but I could relate more with a girl, obviously. But I was like, I am not going to have a girl growing up the way I did. So I really tried very hard to help Katie just develop. And she really literally was my princess, and I treated her like it. And some people didn't like that, but it's like, I'm not going to have a weak little girl like I was. And I got myself in a lot of icky situations, even as an adult, because I wasn't able to be confident in my voice, and I didn't have a voice. And so I wanted to make sure that she had a voice, and she is proving it day after day. And she is my rock. She is my role model at the age of, would you say 21, 22?
22.
22, she's
Mom!
22. She's
Mom!
22. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So there's going to be a time when you're going to appreciate the fact that I have you a year younger.
That's true.
Wow.
We could always go celebrate that 21. Mom.
You're 21.
Let's go have some fun. Let's go be vulnerable.
Wow.
With some vodka.
Wow.
Vulnerability drinks on the house.
Yes. I mean, you can definitely tell the closeness y'all have. Just your interaction. I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's gold. What both of y'all are showing right now.
Katie and I are pretty close.
Yeah.
We are. Yeah.
How close?
We're close.
About half an inch. We could be closer.
Oh my gosh, look at this.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's my world.
Well, we're at the end here, or towards the end, and what I want to sit back and enjoy is Tammy, you asking Kato some questions.
Ooh. Awesome. As long as I'm not in the hot seat. So Katie. Yeah. I'm sorry, I call her Katie, but she likes to go by Caito. So Caito, what is something that you were insecure about? I just talked about my insecurities when I was younger, but what is something that you were insecure about, or something that you would like to hide from the world?
That is a really hard one. I guess my biggest insecurity is probably not getting in return what I put forward. Like trying really hard and not being recognized its worth. It's really hard in that sense to. It's a hard question.
It's okay.
Yeah. But it's hard to put yourself out there and work really hard towards something and creating something, especially being in the industry that I'm at. You work really hard, and it's a challenge. Getting recognition, I guess that sounds really egotistical.
No,
but,
I don't think so. I think everybody in their own like field, in their own like craft, they want to be known as like a great person in that field of craft. So I don't think so.
I think it's to do something and then have no appreciation in return for it. No validation, no gratification from it. And that really sucks when that happens.
Yeah, I can see that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming you have dreams, right? Speaking of that, so is there anything holding you back?
Anything holding me back from my dreams?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I guess to answer that question, I need to kind of tell you what my dream is.
Please.
And I guess it's to be a iconic female role model in the tattoo industry.
Ooh, fancy.
Yes.
Because working where I work, it's a very male dominated world.
It really is.
And so being a female and having to should we kick Tulip out with a jingle jangle? Tulip, go.
Jingle
Ow.
jangle.
I don't know how to open the door.
Our dogs all of a sudden all came in. You probably saw us going
man.
Like, y'all need to.
Yes, I am loving this interaction. Bring in the dogs. Who let the dogs
That's
in?
okay.
Who let the dogs in?
You.
Anyways. So you
Okay.
you want to like a legend. You want to, or legacy
Yeah.
for women, for girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really there's not a lot of female icons. They're few and far between, and it's hard being a woman in this industry. So I kind of would like to be one of the people who have helped pave the way for women who were previously in my position, just starting out and not really having any ideals to follow.
Can I say something on that? I know when I have clients who talk about my tattoos, and I'm always like, oh yeah, my daughter, blah blah blah. They're like, oh my gosh, there's a girl out there that I'm like, yes. And so there's a lot of people who really just seek out, I think, getting tattoos from women. I know, I mean, I wouldn't have as many tattoos as I did if it wasn't for Katie, but there's something about sitting with her versus I would not sit that long with a man 4 or 5 hours to get a big tattoo. That's just very uncomfortable. And so I think a lot of women would totally appreciate even getting tattoos, not only just like to look up to you to be as a tattoo artist, but women who come to you to like have you to trust their body to you and not feel uncomfortable or creeped out. So I think it's really huge for more women to be in the field because of that.
Oh yeah. Well, I hope male artists and everyone in between would make their clientele comfortable. I would hope that's a standard.
Yeah.
But yes, I see what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, a lot of people do seek me out because I am a woman, and they stay for the quality and the quality time.
Yes.
By the way, don't forget to tip your tattoo artist.
Tip your tattoo artist. Oh my gosh. That's a therapy talk tip right there.
That's a therapy talk tip. Yeah. If you get your tattoo, don't forget to tip them. Okay. So if you could tell your younger self some advice, I talked about a little bit about when you were younger and me when I was younger, Pauline a little bit too. What is some advice you would give yourself knowing what you know now?
Stay single. Yeah. Relationships. Just like we'll leave it there. Just stay single. Love yourself. You don't need anyone else. But also, the more important part is to be your genuine self. Like, I used to be really hardened, and I was very abrasive towards people in the sense of, like, I wasn't willing to be nice or kind. Because I didn't want to deal with people. And so I purposefully presented myself as a very negative creature to keep people away. And that is not who I am. And it's taken a long time for me to kind of take off that facade. And I really wish I started younger. I think my life would be very different if I wasn't consistently an asshole for 20 years. But you live, you learn, you grow, you move on.
Can I
It's a
say
gamble.
a story?
Give me a quick thumbnail on what the story is. No.
Chili?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, okay. Moving on.
Ooh,
You want to tell the
see?
story? I'll tell them how you cooked the chili.
There was nothing wrong with how I cooked the chili.
and this is the tea with therapy talk.
Everyone's gonna find out how bad of a cook you are. This is equivalent exchange.
Okay, I'm gonna have
Well,
to interfere.
No, mama, no.
I was kidding. I wasn't going to.
Oh,
No.
Fortunately.
Like, what does that even have to do with any?
Just you being a hard ass. Like, you were like, meh.
Okay.
Do you see the relevance?
Yeah, it was like 7.
I know. It was just, that's the vision I have of you when you talk about that.
Your
Just a-
7-year-old asshole kid.
Your face and everything, but I laughed the entire time. It was so funny. Anyways, we'll just move on.
See, okay, hold on. I
edit that
wanna
out?
say something.
We'll edit that out. Yeah, sorry. I couldn't stop laughing because I just had the visual.
Yeah.
No, I mean, what just happened is a prime example of setting boundaries. Tammy clearly wanted to share something Katie did not co-sign on, and Katie just said,
I look in your eye. I was like, the answer's no to whatever it is.
the look in y'all
yes.
are close. Yes. So let's move on. Tammy, do you have any more questions
Oh,
for
I don't
Kato?
know. I'm afraid to now. How has your past shaped you?
Damn. That's another heavy question. It's shaped me a lot. My present is still shaping me a lot. I guess in a lot of ways, as has previously been said, there's good and there is bad that's happened in your life, and you have to give credit to all of it. Everything that you are to this day, your very being, is both a collection of moments that are both bad and good. And if you want to recognize yourself as the person you are today, you have to recognize the things that have shaped you. And so, how has it shaped me? I don't know, man. That's like every day. Every day still shapes me. Like, I wake up every morning and decide if I want to eat a peanut butter sandwich.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Or my mom's disgusting chili.
I made good spaghetti though.
You know,
Spaghetti is like really hard to mess up, though. It is amazing spaghetti.
I like my spaghetti.
Yes.
Yeah, chili. I was always trying to compete with your grandma. She made really good chili.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
S-tier chili. My mom's call
Nah.
CPS.
you know, what just happened reminded me of something that is often said, which is, you're never too old for an ass whooping.
Yeah.
I don't know if you hear this.
I'll square up this time.
Nope, you're never too old. I will take a piece of that humble pie.
Not in my culture, at least.
Why not humble cake? In reference to layers, like earlier's onions.
Ah, yes, yes, we're bringing it back around.
Bringing it back around.
circle.
Okay, I'll bring it back around.
Woo, we need somebody
I'm-
to. Please take us away, Pauline.
Yes. So just from what we've talked about, we've definitely expanded on vulnerability. And
All
it sound-
aspects of it.
And vulnerability is really everything about you. Vulnerability is being human, and it's about our thoughts. It's about our feelings. It's about our challenges, our weaknesses, and our strengths. All those components make us vulnerable, which essentially makes us human. That's the essence of being a human being. So this was great. I enjoyed it.
It was fun.
It was.
I think we'll have to have her back again later.
Yes.
I would
So-
love to.
Well, take us out of here, Tammy. Let's leave. We gotta go.
Me, Katie brought us in. Katie should bring us out. What do you say, Katie?
Oh shit. Oh shoot. Heck darn. Words. I guess like my most important closing remark for this video, and I think we can all agree that is probably the most important thing to take away from this video,
What's that?
is to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you. Goodbye. Goodbye.
How do we ever record after this? We're gonna be so boring.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Yes. Signing off. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.